The ones that want the business plan, if ever, are the banks and sometimes the accounting firms. And once in a while, your directors that you're building a board with. But you have the scripts, and he just spit it out. At best it's a lie, and at worst it's fraud. And when they hear that, because it's true, business plans don't fail on paper. They just don't. Now, if push comes to shove and worse, you got to give the guy a plan, because you can't say no because you're a pleaser. Then you go hire a law student to write you one for £100, or you go online and you get somebody from Manila or Belarus or India to write you one for $50. But 99% of the kids don't give them anything other than an expanded executive summary. The executive summary is the thing that they live with. But they want to fill up your file. I know you need to put things in my credit file. How else can we solve that? And they know that you know that they know that they don't really need a fucking business plan. And the young man, and I've told him to finish his internship. He's not going to drop out of his internship, and then he will probably have a deal done before the end of summer. Then he'll decide whether he's going to go back for his third year of school or not. He'll decide. But the kids, I always say if you're going to stay in school, do the best you can, and even if you've got to delay the process. Just as I told the kid from Harrow that you listened to the first couple of days. But it's QLA is doing the best you can in everything you do. If you're going to stay in fucking school, do the best you can. If you're not going to do the best you can, then get out of school. But certainly college degrees, other than for the kids that are from universities that have great alumni, okay? And you didn't go to school that you got to explain about, like me, then those alumni associations work. And for those of you that belong to professional organizations, engineering, and people with engineering degrees have professional organizations, lawyers have professional organizations, doctors have professional organizations, architects have professional. That's another great roll-up. Individual architectural firms, small to medium-sized, big margins. They all have associations that you can fall back on. And for the vets in the room, there are veteran business entrepreneurial associations. There are. But they're not teaching you generational wealth in 3 to 7 years. They're teaching you how to, and I'm not demeaning this or making fun of this. They're teaching you how to, buy one plumbing company or start a plumbing company or go get a vet loan from the bank. But he is, and again, age hasn't come up, and he doesn't look really much older wearing a suit than he did when he wasn't wearing a suit. But with one, maybe possibly two of you are the only ones that look young. You're not gonna have to worry about them asking how old you are. So I always used to think when I'd interview older guys, why hasn't this guy been more successful yet in his life? He's 38 years old. Jesus Christ. He's made no fucking, but that's how I used to think. He's made no fucking money. I mean, but most people don't look at it that way. They're looking at the other end of the continuum. When you're 45 years old, nobody's going to ask why you're not more successful. Okay? Whereas when you look 15, you might get a response, and mostly it's jealousy on the young end. Mostly it's jealousy. He looks, well, you can guess for yourself how old he looks, but he doesn't look very old. And it's mostly jealousy. Because you're having, or the young kid is having the gumption, the tenacity, whatever the word you want to use, to go out and do something. But whether you're 18, that looks 12 or whether you're 45 that looks 55, there's going to be no competition. Just you and I know you hear me saying that, and you know, well, maybe this is something Dan's bullshitting about, but when you get out there, it's flat ass no competition. It's just none, zero. And there's a bunch of kids on YouTube that are following the program, and I've introduced some of the examples of guys, you know, doing deals, and of course we've gone through the examples of the kids that have been successful, but even the kids that have failed, I've made a few $1,000,000, which I call failures, which is more than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. You know, but so our failures are super successes when compared to the rest of the world. Our failures, and then of course our super successes, you know, are creating, you know, a lot of money. And if you want to giving back and helping the people, and not only helping the people in exit, just when you do a $30 billion deal like we were discussing earlier, I mean, that's a lot of goddamn jobs. I mean, you can pump that shit up. Oh man, you can make yourself feel good. God damn, 30 billion. I must be saving 500,000 lives. I mean, you can just jerk off. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And so if you want to really jerk off, 775 billion. Fuck, I must have saved half the motherfucking world. Allah's will. Well, but that's all bullshit to me, because I know there's 24 of you in this goddamn room, and this is the 24 I'm going to be focusing on, you know, when you go out the door. Any questions about the kid?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The law firm wanted to talk to the CEO.
Next. Well, often wants to talk to the chairman. Next.
What did he do, just walk out?
Well, I mean, I was proud of him. He said, I just got up and left. That must have been, I think that was hard for him. Unless you've, you know, got up and, that's it. He got up and left.
Or you said just told them, look.
No, well, I can see we're not on the same page. Thank you for your time. Just get up and leave. Well, I just get up and leave. You know, fuck, thank you for your time. You're wasting my goddamn time, you prick.
What's the reason we don't want him to speak to the CEO?
Pardon? The reason he wants to talk to the CEO is, why are you working with this fucking kid? There's no good reason, believe me. It's not for him to say, oh, what a sharp young man we got here. He's going to get 65% of all this fucking money, and you fuck off, or he's going to get 6%. That's the last fucking thing you need. You think anything positive? I mean, nothing. But we've had kids, especially the kids that haven't been through the program, that are just doing it because on YouTube. I must not say that on my website, because we've had kids wrongfully introduce them to the CEO. Then the deal all goes, you know, sideways and blows up. And then QLA doesn't work. Dan Penn is a fraud. Castleman shit doesn't work. And so this is, you know, as Whipple would probably agree, when things go right, I'm a genius. You fuck it up, QLA doesn't work. I mean, but, you know, yes.
It seemed like he put a lot of people through the doofus test.
Yes, he did. He did. And because he's he's not in Adelaide, he's in Leeds, which is not Adelaide to England, like, or is not the asshole to Britain like Adelaide is to Australia. But yes, he did. He did. And it's a good program, especially when you're young. You want to know that these guys are really on board. And it starts with your picture on LinkedIn, and which his picture on LinkedIn is, he's dressed more like he was just now, not with his sweater and shirt that he had from the first interview. And for those of you that have Facebook and you got goofy fucking pictures, and there's been lawsuits in America, you can't use Facebook to discriminate for not hiring in America. There's been lawsuits about this. But everybody uses it. If you're hiring people in America and you say you don't look at them on Facebook, you're lying. And then you got these pictures where they're going and all this shit. That's why, I mean, just scrub all the pictures. You know, if you want to keep a Facebook, fine, but scrub all that. And there's some of the bullshit conversations you have on Facebook that you can see. Because I know there's a message. I'm only just recently found out you can do messages on there. But I mean, you take all that off. Because you don't want them. If you've got pictures on there, it's you're in a suit. You know, you're not, drunk, falling out of a whatever. Like the picture that Peter showed you when he was drunk, and that those aren't the pictures. And what else?
His hardest thing was finding the accountants, it seemed.
Yeah. I don't know why. Some of you will find the lawyers hard. Some of you will find the accountants hard. We put the lawyers at the end because normally you gain credibility from what not only that you learned from pitching the accountants, but the accountants, who do you know at the Big Four? Or they call it the Magic Circle law firms here in Britain. Who do you know at and there's 7 in the Magic Circle. But I mean, it's the only thing that he did out of sequence. As he said, I wanted to save time, so I did both at the same time. Now, we've had people, I'm not recommending this, we've had people that have done the accountants and lawyers at the same time and warmed up the banks. But depending on your own skill set, and you know whether you've got presentation skills or not. Most people have to learn the presentation skills. It takes 17 times, marketing studies, etc., have proven 17 presentations for the average person, but I know you're all above average in this room, but for the average guy or gal with 100 IQ, it takes 17 times before you get it right. 17. For those of you that think you're slicker than baby shit, maybe 3. For those of you that are Forrest, 117. But it takes 17 times. Now, if you practice the deal 500 times by yourself and you don't, it doesn't take 17. But normally you don't practice enough. And as we've said many, many times already, I put in an hour and a half for every hour in the seminar. I'm an hour and a half going through the slides and checking statistics and going through my material. And I have the 2,400 slides memorized. So, but I still do that. The challenge, after you do a deal, and let's say your first 3 or 4 deals, and then you don't do a deal for 5 months, for whatever reason. You're rusty as shit when you come back. So you got a different kind of default. You got a presentation default, or the lack thereof. And so then you make a presentation after 5 months and you step all over your dick, and it's miserable. It's like, there's a lot of defaults, potential defaults in the system. But if you keep doing it, you keep buying companies, defaults at a minimum, and then pretty soon, you've got 3% of good habits, and 7%, then 15, then 20, then 20, and then 99% of my habits are all good, and I've been doing it for decades now, so I don't have to think about it. You're on the right track is when your default is QLA. When your default is QLA, your default is being hard. Your default is being firm. Your default is not taking excuses for lack of performance. Your default is measuring people, demanding performance, not asking for performance. And that's good when he said that he's not there. Would you like to work with me? And the scripts say, we require that you work, but your default as pleasers, not just this, generally speaking, your default as pleasers, would you like to, work on this program? It's like when you see guys in you're asking somebody out for a date, are you, instead of saying, let's have dinner tonight. Well, what are you doing tonight? Let's have dinner. This is a good test. Next time you go out to dinner, sit and listen. Don't order first. Listen to everybody else at the table. And I will bet you dollars to donuts that almost everybody at the table says, and they're looking at the menu, okay, and they're assuming it's in the same language you speak, and could I have this, could I have this, could I have this? Instead of, I order, I'll have this, I'll have this, I'll have this. You ask, could I? Now, if you can't even be forceful with a fucking waiter or waitress, I mean, it's not could I will have this. And words are important. And when you get used to saying those words, that kind of language, and it's not insulting. I mean, you're firm in everything you do, from dealing with your little kids, to your parents, to your spouses, to your board, then it just becomes, a natural flow. Again, I'm like this when I get up in the morning. When I go to sleep at night, I'm the same. Other than the other night when I couldn't sleep because I was excited for Otto the Nazi. Otto the Nazi. And the other guy that just did the deal. And then when you do a big deal, it's like a flood of refreshing, and you feel like, but then, was it an accident or on purpose? And can I do it again? Am I just a miserable one-trick fuck like Peña talks about? Well, I'd rather have you a miserable one-trick fuck that got rich. But I really want you to do a second trick and a third trick and a fourth trick. But after you do a big deal and then, the money's cleared and you spent some of it and, everybody thinks you're a genius. Fuck, now what am I going to do? What am I going to do for an encore? And then when you do it again and again and again, and then it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. And any questions about the kid? And he's just a kid. Other than you, you're a couple of years older. Okay, he's 20, you're 18. Okay. But hard to believe 18. I have shoes older than the oldest guy in this room. I have shoes older. I used to say I have underwear older, but Sally says that's bad because they think you got holes in your underwear and shit like that. So I don't say that anymore. But I probably do have underwear that's 20 years old. I got 9,000 pairs. So, I mean, every time I get around, and my staff, and all the T-shirts, all the suits, all the things, they start, and I want to go through every one before I go back to the other one. So, I mean, it takes a long time for me to get through the clothes. That's why I find it amusing. A couple of times I was wearing the same suit that I'm wearing up there. Okay, YouTube, we'll see you later. Now, pull out your affirmations, kids.